September 9 was the day your house was marked spiritually. Archangel Michael saw it happen, but you didn't. If you don't open this now, that energy could settle permanently. September 9 did not pass like just any other date on the calendar. It was etched in the eternal books of the spirit realm, though hidden from the eyes of men. What felt like an ordinary moment in time was, in truth, a sacred appointment, a divine marking upon your household. Not all markings are seen with human eyes, and not all shifts make noise. Some are quiet. Some are still. Some come like a whisper in the night, yet they change everything. And on that day, the shift occurred. Archangel Michael, the warring Prince of Heaven, stood watch as it happened. The seal was placed. The line was drawn. The gate was approached. He saw what the human eye could not. Where others walked past your house and saw nothing unusual, Michael saw the ripple of a spiritual marking, a divine alert sent into the realm of principalities. The atmosphere around you changed. The ground under your feet adjusted. Something invisible settled around your home, a spiritual resonance, and with it came the potential for either divine elevation or demonic infiltration, depending on your response. But here is what must be understood. This message is not for everyone. This is a prophetic transmission cloaked in secrecy, a scroll unrolled only to the chosen. If you feel it in your spirit, that tug, that unrest, that sensation in your chest right now, it is because your name was among the few highlighted that day. You were noticed. You were selected. You were marked. This is not entertainment. This is not coincidence. If you're reading these words, you've been summoned to spiritual alertness. And with that summons comes responsibility, the requirement of silence, stillness, and obedience. For only in the silence will you hear what the Spirit is saying. Only in the stillness will you discern what truly took place. And only in obedience will you be able to respond with the authority required to shift what has been set in motion. But be warned, if you dismiss this moment, if you allow the energy to settle, unchallenged and unacknowledged, it can embed itself. Spiritual atmosphere can either be purified or polluted, claimed by the light or owned by darkness. This is yours to decide. What settles now will root itself for seasons. Type "I am chosen" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 666 is now surrounding you. The mark was placed, and the countdown already began on September 9. Open your ears. Still your soul. For what I speak now is not merely words. It is the sound of heaven's warning carried through the mouth of a messenger. The mark was placed. The countdown already began. September 9 is no longer just a date. It is now a spiritual reference point in eternity. The line drawn in invisible fire. A decree written not in ink, but in light and vibration. You did not see it, but the heavens saw it. You did not feel it at the time, but the atmosphere around you registered the shift. And Archangel Michael, the captain of heaven's host, the prince of protection, the defender of God's chosen, he was there. He saw it. He did not blink. He did not turn. He stood post as the marking was made. He bore witness to what was sealed around your house while the world was asleep. While the noise of ordinary life distracted millions, the spiritual realm fell into absolute silence. For something eternal had just been activated. Something sacred had just begun. And yet, you were unaware. This is not a message for the masses. This is not for the curious or the casual. This is a message for the sensitive, the ones whose spirits have been disturbed without knowing why. The ones who have awakened in the night with unease. The ones who have heard the silent knocking, felt the coldness in the room, the sudden silence in the middle of joy. It is for the one who cannot explain the weight pressing on their chest, the invisible change in the air, the strange energy hanging in the corners of their home. You are not crazy. You are not imagining this. You are simply one of the few who were marked. On September 9, an invisible marking appeared on the spiritual map. It was not physical, but it was absolute. The coordinates of your home were engraved into the books of spiritual warfare. And while your natural eye could not perceive it, Archangel Michael could. He saw the mark. He saw the stirring of spirits. He saw the subtle movement of both light and shadow. This is why your dreams shifted. This is why certain people stopped calling. This is why new tensions entered your space, uninvited. Because something in the heavens was whispered about you. Let no man deceive you. This was not coincidence. It was divine orchestration. And now, the countdown moves forward. Heaven is watching for your response. Hell is hoping for your silence. The decision is in your hands. Today, I call upon Archangel Michael, in the authority of the Almighty, to surround your house again, to raise the sword of flame against anything that has entered unlawfully. May he stand once more at the boundary lines of your property, sword drawn, wings extended, watching. For the battle has begun, but you are not alone in it. But hear me. This mark was not to curse you. It was not to condemn you. It was to awaken you. Heaven has not forgotten you. It has selected you. The marking is an announcement in the spirit that you are part of the unfolding strategy of the kingdom. Your house has been claimed for divine purpose, and the enemy seeks to challenge that claim. That's why the mark matters. This is a summons to awareness. A spiritual trumpet is sounding over your home. Do not harden your heart. Do not dismiss the sensation. What you feel is not fear. It is discernment. Something greater is stirring, and if you remain asleep, that which has been marked will be claimed by default. But if you respond, if you rise, if you awaken, then the countdown will not lead to crisis. It will lead to consecration. You are under divine observation. The angel who saw the mark is now watching your response. Heaven is leaning in. Type "I receive IT" in the comments if this speaks to you. Blessing code 1101 is now circling your home. They felt it, but couldn't speak it. You felt it, but couldn't explain it. After September 9, something shifted. The air around you thickened. The energy within your home became unfamiliar. And though you couldn't trace it to any specific event, a cloud of emotional disruption settled quietly, like a shadow moving behind your back, always just out of sight. Conversations became colder. Faces that once smiled grew silent. The atmosphere around you became heavy, without warning, without explanation. You started to notice things. Not loud things, but subtle things. A sudden chill in the room when you were alone. A strange silence in places that were once filled with joy. A whisper in the corner of your spirit that said, "Something is not right." People began acting differently. Not all of them, just enough to get your attention. Some became distant without cause. Some looked at you as if they knew something you didn't. Some spoke with smiles, but behind their eyes was a flicker of suspicion or fear or envy. And you couldn't shake the feeling that they knew, that they had seen something or heard something that made them treat you like a mystery now. This is what happens when the spiritual realm makes a move before the natural world catches up. You were marked on September 9, and when something is marked in the spirit, those with sensitive hearts can feel the vibration. Even those without spiritual vocabulary will respond to it. They might not understand it, but they will react. Some will be drawn to you. Others will be repelled by you. But none will remain neutral, because the marking changed your frequency. You are no longer invisible in the spirit. You've been noticed. But that noticing also triggered a stirring. The enemy of your soul, sensing the divine touch, sent watchers, not physical ones always, but spiritual ones. Shadows that stand at the edge of your dreams. Whispers that speak only when your thoughts begin to settle. Confusion that enters without warning. Emotional unrest, anxiety with no source, and tension in relationships you thought were stable. You've felt it. You've wondered what's wrong. But no one else seems to see what you see, or feel what you feel. And that is by design. Because this message, this experience, is for you. You, the one reading now with chills down your spine. You, who felt something in the atmosphere change, but didn't know why. You, who have been asking questions in silence because no one around you would understand if you voiced what you feel. But I am here to confirm it. You are not imagining it. You've been disrupted because heaven has disrupted your timeline. And anything not aligned with that new timeline is now trembling. Emotional instability is not always a sign of spiritual weakness. It can be a symptom of divine acceleration. Your spirit knows what your mind is still trying to understand. The unrest in your heart, the random sadness, the unspoken grief, all of it is part of the unveiling. You are being detached from what was comfortable, so you can walk into what is consecrated. And the people around you, they're sensing it too. Even if they can't say it out loud. Don't look for validation from the wrong voices. Don't wait for permission to trust your discernment. What you feel is real. What you sense is accurate. And the reason you're still standing is because Archangel Michael did not only see the marking, he guarded it. He stood between you and what could have broken you, shielding you from attacks you never knew would launch. But now the choice is yours. Will you sit in confusion or rise in clarity? Will you silence your discernment or strengthen it? Will you dismiss the whispers or answer them with spiritual authority? Because the mystery will not lift until you engage it. Type "I am anointed" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1122 is now activated. This wasn't random. This was warfare. And Archangel Michael was already in position. Let no one deceive you. What happened on September 9 was not coincidental. It wasn't random. It wasn't harmless. It was war. A silent, supernatural war. A spiritual chessboard shifted beneath your feet, and though your natural eyes saw nothing, heaven and hell both registered the change. While you went about your daily life, a decree was issued in the invisible realm. A line was drawn. A flag was planted. And the territory surrounding your house became a battleground. That mark was not graffiti. It was a claim. A spiritual symbol. A flare shot up into the heavenlies. And it wasn't just angels who saw it. The enemy saw it too. That's why the atmosphere changed. That's why the whispering started. That's why confusion settled over your mind like a fog. The enemy didn't attack because you were weak. The enemy attacked because you were chosen. Hear me clearly. You are not under random attack. You are under divine surveillance. Archangel Michael, heaven's warrior, stood at attention as the claim was placed. He saw the enemy approaching. He saw the forces gathering. But he also saw you. He saw your spirit, unsettled, perhaps, but not unprotected. Vulnerable, perhaps, but not abandoned. And that's why you're still standing. Because when the enemy came like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord lifted up a standard. The conflict you're feeling isn't proof that you're cursed. It's proof that you carry something worth fighting for. The enemy wouldn't send surveillance into a home with no value. He wouldn't release confusion into a house that's spiritually empty. He wouldn't stir drama, provoke jealousy, or scatter peace unless there was something in your house he wanted to interrupt. The moment you were marked, your destiny became visible to forces you had no idea were watching. But listen now. The enemy didn't mark you. God did. The enemy is merely responding to something heaven initiated. You were chosen. You were highlighted. You were selected not for destruction, but for testing and elevation. Because elevation requires exposure. And exposure always attracts opposition. This is not the time to shrink back in fear. This is not the time to ask, "Why me?" This is the time to rise and declare, "Because I've been set apart. Because I've been appointed. Because my house is territory of the King." Your peace isn't gone. It's being fortified. Your clarity isn't lost. It's being cleansed. What feels like shaking is really a separating, a divine separation between what can remain and what must be removed. And yes, it feels uncomfortable. But the discomfort is confirmation. You are in the middle of a war over position. The enemy is trying to stop what God already announced over you. That's why you've felt the tension rise. That's why there's been an unusual resistance. Because you are transitioning from one level of authority to another, and every transition must be contested. But take comfort in this. Heaven has already logged the event in eternity. Archangel Michael saw it. The courts of heaven recorded it. The battle is not surprising to God. It is unfolding exactly as designed. You are not without covering. You are not without angelic assistance. And you are certainly not going through this alone. You've been equipped for this. This season was not meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you. And now, the heavens watch. The angels stand post. The battle intensifies, but so does your authority. Let the enemy come. Let the shaking rise. Let the pressure increase. Because the outcome has already been seen. You will not break. You will not fall. You will not fall. You were marked for more, and now that mark has activated the next chapter. Type "I stand protected" in the comments if this message confirms your battle. Blessing code 444 is surrounding your home. The mark triggered movement in the dark, and now the clock ticks. The moment your house was marked on September 9, things began to move, not just in the spirit, but in the shadows. What was hidden started creeping forward. What was whispered behind closed doors began forming into strategies. And what was only imagined by the enemy started materializing into intention. This wasn't just a symbolic marking, it was a divine trigger. A prophetic countdown began, and with it, a disturbance in the realm of darkness. Something has been stirred. Something is unfolding. And if you do not act in the spirit, that energy will attempt to settle and root itself, not just around your house, but within it. Right now, behind the veil, a plan is taking shape. Someone, or something, is plotting. Conversations have been had. Alignments have been formed. And while it may look like coincidence or chaos in the natural, there is order to this madness in the realm of spirits. There is a design, a demonic orchestration waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what the enemy forgot is this: the mark on your home did not go unnoticed by heaven. Archangel Michael is not only watching, he is restraining. But understand this clearly. You are in a 72-hour window of consequence. You may not have felt it before, but the moment you opened your eyes to this message, the window became visible. There is a clock ticking in the invisible, and it is counting down toward a collision, a manifestation of what was set in motion on September 9. This isn't about fear. This is about awareness. This is not a threat. This is a divine alert. If you notice strange emotional spikes, sudden arguments, or unexplainable mental fog, it's not random. These are signs of the shift trying to solidify. You may have even heard things fall in the night. Felt as if something brushed past you, or sensed a presence where there should have been none. This is the realm pressing through the veil, trying to manifest. The enemy is testing the gates of your house, knocking, prodding, seeking permission through your passivity. And here's what the Spirit is saying. If you do not rise in awareness, if you do not take spiritual authority, the energy around you will settle permanently. What should have been momentary will become territorial. What should have been tested will become entrenched. But you still have time. You are not late. You are being warned. Archangel Michael has seen this tactic before. He was there when the destroyer passed over Egypt. He was there when Daniel fasted for 21 days, and the Prince of Persia resisted heaven's answer. He understands warfare at a level far beyond what humans can perceive. And he is not passive. He has drawn his sword. He has flanked your home. He is waiting for your command. Because your voice, yes, your voice, gives heaven license to intervene with force. You must not remain silent in this hour. You must not stay numb. Declare over your house. Seal the doorposts with your words. Consecrate your space with the blood of Jesus. Call upon Michael and the angelic host to surround your dwelling. Because while the enemy moves in silence, God moves with fire. Listen closely. In the next 72 hours, something will attempt to cross into your environment. Whether through a person, a message, a dream, or a decision, there will be a test. You will recognize it not by appearance, but by spiritual disturbance. If you feel that unease rise again, do not ignore it. Do not explain it away. That is your signal to speak, to bind, to cancel, to cast out. Your silence gives permission. Your voice activates protection. This warning is not to scare you. It is to prepare you. Because those who are forewarned can become forearmed. Heaven doesn't reveal plans of darkness unless there's already provision for victory. You are not helpless. You are not surrounded. You are not forsaken. You are in the middle of divine strategy, and what happens next is determined by your response. Choose to respond in power. Choose to speak with fire. Choose to shift the atmosphere before it settles. Type "I cancel every plot" in the comments if you receive this warning. Blessing code 1212 is protecting your house even now. Heaven fights for you, but silence is your weapon. Now that the countdown has begun and the shadows have stirred, your response must shift from emotional reaction to spiritual precision. The Spirit of the Lord is not calling you to panic. He is not calling you to expose yourself in conversations with the wrong people. He is not calling you to make sudden moves in your own strength. What heaven requires in this moment is your stillness. What the angelic host responds to now is your obedient silence. Because stillness is not inactivity, it is divine positioning. Silence is not weakness. It is spiritual warfare wrapped in wisdom. The war around your house was triggered by a spiritual marking. But it will not be won through human striving. It will be won through consecrated restraint. The enemy wants noise. The enemy wants chaos. The enemy wants confusion. But God is saying, "Be still and know that I am God." Archangel Michael is not standing with his sword drawn for nothing. He is not watching over your house as a symbolic gesture. He is actively engaging the warfare above your roof, beside your walls, at the threshold of your door. You are not exposed, you are surrounded. But your agreement with heaven must now look like withdrawal from earthly conflict. When others attempt to bait you, you must disengage. When familiar spirits come through familiar faces, you must not react. When demonic patterns try to repeat themselves through arguments, delays, or distractions, your silence must become a shield. You are in a moment of divine surveillance. The Lord is watching your restraint as a form of intercession. You are being refined like gold, and your calmness in the storm is burning the dross away. This is the hour of learning how to fight without flailing, to win without noise, to destroy without lifting your voice in the wrong direction. Don't speak to the attack, speak to the angels. Don't explain yourself to man, decree your authority in the Spirit. Every time you choose stillness over strife, you authorize heaven to strike. Every time you close your mouth and lift your spirit, you release angels to move. The silence you maintain is not silence in the Spirit. It is thunder in the unseen realm. The old ways won't work here. This next level of protection will not come through the power of your connections, your strategies, or even your prayers of panic. No, this comes by alignment. Alignment with the flow of heaven. Alignment with the voice of the commander of the angelic armies. And this is what heaven is saying. Stay low. Stay hidden. Stay still. Not forever. Just in this window. Just while the markings are being read. Just while the coordinates are still vibrating in the heavens. Because any movement outside of divine timing will alert the wrong forces. Your protection is in your precision. There is a frequency being measured in this moment, and when you settle into it, peace will surround you like armor. Michael, the great prince, is assigned to war on behalf of the children of light. And he has not forgotten your name. He has not departed from your house. In fact, he is closer than ever. But do not forget this. He wars best when you wait well. He guards best when you refuse distraction. He covers best when you move in wisdom, not fear. You are not defenseless. You are not alone. You are not exposed. You are shielded by silence. And in this season, silence is your sword. Withdraw from unnecessary conflict. Refuse to feed the drama. Shut the gates to noise. And watch what heaven does in your stillness. Type "I am shielded by heaven" in the comments if you're stepping into divine silence. Blessing code 333 is securing your atmosphere now. They thought you were the same, but the mark changed everything. You are no longer who they remember. The version of you that once tolerated cycles of defeat, that once walked in uncertainty, that once bent under the weight of emotional pressure, that version was marked for transformation on September 9. The shift was silent, but it was permanent. Heaven altered your identity, not in the natural realm first, but in the spirit. And now, the atmosphere is responding to the change, even if people are not. That spiritual mark did not just alert the enemy. It activated your evolution. You may still look the same. You may still live in the same house, work the same job, wear the same clothes. But don't be mistaken, you are not the same spirit. The old garments no longer fit. The old labels no longer apply. Because the fire of God has begun refining you from the inside out, and what people once assumed about you has expired in the courts of heaven. They're interacting with a memory. But you are walking in a metamorphosis. The people around you have felt it. That's why they can't treat you the same. That's why their conversations with you feel slightly off. That's why their eyes glance sideways when you speak. Because there is a glow around your words now, even when you say nothing. There is a weight on your presence, even when you feel weary. Something about you feels different to them, and though they may not be able to describe it, you were branded by God for elevation. This is no ordinary season. This is no common time. This is the era where the anointed ones rise. And you, child of fire, are among them. The confusion, the emotional disruption, the spiritual opposition, it was all resistance to the mark. But instead of crushing you, it transformed you. The spiritual warfare did not break you. It built you. It trained your discernment. It toughened your spirit. It burned off the fear. It pressed you toward heaven. Like wings bursting through the back of a caterpillar, your potential is unfolding under pressure. And while they still speak to your cocoon, heaven is calling your wings into the wind. You are not just surviving, you are soaring. The turbulence you faced is not a sign of regression, but of altitude. The winds that push against you now are evidence that you're lifting off. Elevation always attracts friction. But you were not born to stay grounded. You were born to rise. Even now, Archangel Michael stands guard not just as a protector, but as a witness. He saw you, Mark. He saw the attack. He saw the confusion, the tears, the warfare in the night. But now he sees your transformation. He sees your wings. He sees your fire. You are the one they overlooked, but heaven never did. You are the one they underestimated, but God appointed. You are the one they tried to label, but the marking erased every label man ever placed on you. Now is the moment to agree with heaven's assessment, not man's opinion. You are no longer defined by past trauma, past decisions, or past pain. You are no longer tied to the version of yourself that tolerated manipulation or lived in fear of rejection. You are not under the weight of other people's expectations. You are under the cloud of divine transformation. So stand up taller. Speak with clarity. Pray with authority. Walk with fire. The mark was not to shame you. It was to signal that you've been elevated. What felt like warfare was really a promotion in disguise. Type "I am rising" in the comments if you know the old you is gone. Blessing code 777 has been released into your atmosphere. September 9 wasn't an attack. It was an announcement. You thought it was an intrusion. You thought it was an assault. You thought the turbulence that entered your atmosphere was a demonic ambush. And yes, the enemy was involved. But what you didn't see, what your eyes could not have perceived, is that September 9 wasn't an attack. It was an announcement. It was heaven's declaration over your life, your bloodline, and your house. What you thought was warfare was actually recognition. What felt like chaos was really a coronation in the spirit. You were unlocked. Yes, the shaking was real. Yes, the whispers were present. But the enemy didn't initiate this. God did. It was God who marked your house. It was God who sent the angelic scouts. It was God who flipped the page in the book of your life and said, "Now begins the next chapter." And like a divine trumpet in the invisible realm, your name was spoken aloud, not whispered, declared. And the enemy heard it. That's why everything tried to unravel after September 9. Because the moment you were unlocked, the realm of darkness reacted. They knew what had happened. They recognized the shift. That's why familiar spirits started stirring again. That's why confusion tried to nest in your mind. That's why tension began rising in your relationships. Because the mark on your home was not just for you. It was a sign to both heaven and hell that your territory was no longer dormant. It was activated. And yet, while all of this took place around you, you didn't see it. You didn't know what to call it. You couldn't explain it, and you weren't supposed to. Because the Lord chose to hide this truth until now. This is the hour of unveiling. The scroll is being opened. The mystery is being decoded. The message is finding its recipient, you. Let this settle in your spirit. Heaven has not forgotten you. Heaven has remembered your name. Heaven has summoned the records, and your name was read aloud in the courts of glory. And standing there, as a witness to the decree, was Archangel Michael himself. Sword at his side, fire in his eyes. Warrior of the highest rank, standing watch as the next phase of your life was written into motion. The enemy may have reacted, but he was too late. Because what was unlocked on September 9 was not a gate to destruction, it was a portal of promotion. What seemed like danger was actually destiny. What looked like resistance was really the birth pangs of revelation. And now, everything is aligning with that divine decision. Your house is not marked for loss, it is marked for legacy. Your body is not marked for sickness, it is marked for sanctification. Your name is not marked for shame, it is marked for glory. Do not fear what is shifting. Do not mourn what is being removed. Do not grieve what cannot stay. For what is coming next is beyond anything you've imagined. What has been unlocked is not just a season, it is a spiritual office. You have been called out, called forth, and called up. And now, the heavens wait to see if you will walk in it. This message was hidden until now for a reason. Only the spiritually sensitive could receive it. Only the chosen would understand. And if these words are burning in your chest, if your spirit is trembling under their weight, then know this. You were meant to receive this revelation. You were not overlooked. You were not bypassed. You were being prepared. And now, what was spoken in heaven will begin to manifest on earth. Type "I am unlocked" in the comments if this message just revealed your next chapter. Blessing code 9911 is now flowing through your atmosphere. Heaven marked it. Now you must move it. There comes a moment when the revelation must become a declaration. There comes a point when what was revealed must now be released. And you, chosen one, yes, you whose house was marked in silence on September 9, you are standing in that very moment now. Destiny is not waiting for a better time. Heaven is not looking for perfect conditions. The activation begins when you begin. The mark was placed. The shift was witnessed. Archangel Michael recorded the coordinates. But now, the power of that marking must be ignited by your agreement. You cannot passively observe what has been divinely orchestrated. You cannot receive a scroll from heaven and keep it folded. You must speak. You must decree. You must stand. Because until the word is spoken, the promise remains dormant. And what is dormant too long becomes vulnerable to delay. This is not a season to whisper your faith. It is time to shout your destiny. You must speak life over your house. Speak protection over your bloodline. Speak alignment over your future. Because silence in this hour is no longer safety. Silence is surrender. And you were not born to surrender. You were born to shift atmospheres, break generational cycles, and declare the word of the Lord over territories others abandon. It begins with your voice. The house you live in is not ordinary. The space you inhabit is not casual. It is now registered in the realm of spirits. The enemy knows it. Angels know it. Heaven confirmed it. So now, you must take ownership. Not just emotionally. Not just mentally. Spiritually. Walk through your home and claim it. Touch the walls and speak into them. Declare, this is a house of purpose. This is a house of presence. This is a house of fire. The angels are listening. The heavens are waiting. And Archangel Michael is standing guard, not just to protect, but to execute orders. And your words are the orders he moves on. When you say, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," the angelic swords begin to glow. When you say, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord," the gates of your dwelling are fortified. When you say, "I cancel every demonic entry point," unseen doors slam shut and seals are placed over your windows and walls. Your declarations are not empty. They are dangerous. They are disruptive. They are divine. Do not think for a moment that you are speaking into thin air. You are speaking into the spiritual infrastructure of your next season. You are speaking into the walls of tomorrow. You are painting the blueprint of your legacy with every decree. And with every word you speak in faith, something begins to tremble in the unseen realm. Something begins to respond. Something begins to shift. You are not waiting for a breakthrough. You are the breakthrough. Heaven's resources are unlocked not by begging, but by boldness. The mark has been placed, but the movement is up to you. This is your charge. Speak with fire. Walk with confidence. Pray with authority. And war with worship. Say it with me now. I declare divine ownership over my house. I release every prophetic word assigned to my family. I cancel every delay, every distraction, every attack. I welcome divine alignment. And I rise as a warrior of destiny. I'm activated. You are not the same. And this house is no longer what it was. This house has been consecrated by word, by marking, by fire. Now rise and move like one who has seen behind the veil. Type "I am activated" in the comments if your mouth is now opening with power. Blessing code 5555 has been released into your declarations. What you thought was taken was actually traded. There are things that happened after September 9 that you still don't fully understand. You've tried to make sense of the tension. You've questioned the strange silence from certain people. You've wrestled with the restlessness that wakes you in the middle of the night. But what you must now realize is this. While your house was marked in the spirit, something else happened behind the veil. Something profound. Something sacred. There was a silent exchange. You didn't see it. You didn't feel it in the way you expected. But heaven was moving things on your behalf, without your permission, but fully for your protection. There was a divine negotiation happening while you slept. While you wept. While you doubted. While you questioned. Angels were moving through the corridors of your spirit, collecting things that were attached to you. Some blessings, yes, but also some burdens. Some wounds. Some disappointments. And they were being traded. God took what was draining you and began exchanging it for what was about to develop you. This is the mystery of the mark. It doesn't just identify you. It qualifies you for supernatural exchange. When the mark was placed on your house on September 9, it became a divine signal. And heaven responded not only with protection, but with compensation. Because before restoration comes divine relocation. Before you can carry what is new, heaven must first remove what no longer fits. This is why the dreams shifted. This is why your appetite for certain things died. This is why you've lost interest in conversations that used to excite you. Because the spiritual energy around your life is no longer the same. There's been a transfer. Some of you lost people. Some of you lost money. Some of you lost peace. And the enemy whispered in your ear, "See, God forgot you. You're not covered." But he lied. Because nothing was taken, it was all transferred. Your pain was recorded. Your cries were stored in the bowls of heaven. And the Bible says those bowls will be poured out in due season, not as wrath, but as reward. While you were breaking, heaven was bartering. While you were grieving, the Spirit was gathering. While you were in confusion, the angels were constructing new paths, new resources, new alignments. Just for you. You didn't lose. You were liberated. That heaviness that suddenly lifted. That wasn't random. That was a weight removed in the invisible. That random moment of clarity that interrupted your sadness. That was like piercing through a veil you didn't know was being torn. The reason you couldn't explain your emotional swings is because your spirit was processing a transfer that hadn't reached your mind yet. Yes, your soul has been busy interpreting spiritual paperwork. The enemy wanted you to focus on the chaos in front of you, so you'd miss the transaction behind you. But God says, what the enemy thought he stole, I already redirected. What looked like a setback was a trade for strength. And what they thought would break you only brokered your breakthrough. This is why your spirit feels restless. This is why your body can't get comfortable. Because your inner man knows something's changed. And it wasn't announced with lightning. It came quietly. It came like a scroll being sealed, like all being poured behind the veil. You are walking in the residue of a reversal. You are now under the covering of a supernatural contract, initiated when your house was marked and ratified through your obedience. Your destiny was not delayed, it was redefined. Heaven doesn't make mistakes. God is not indecisive. And the angels assigned to your life do not lose track of what was promised. They've simply been handling things behind the veil. Now, the exchange is complete, and you are walking into recompense. Type "I receive the exchange" in the comments if your spirit knows something was traded for your good. Blessing Note 8181 is now releasing the rewards of hidden transactions. The scales are tipping, and God has not forgotten what was done. Heaven has a memory. And while the world may dismiss what you've endured, overlook what you've lost, and ignore what you've battled, the courts of heaven have kept record. Every wound you silence, every betrayal you buried, every injustice you endured without retaliation, all of it was seen. All of it was logged. And now, after September 9 marked your house and activated a divine exchange, the scales of justice have begun to tip. Slowly at first, silently, but they are tipping nonetheless. And the time of divine reversal is upon you. You must understand, God is not a passive observer. He is not watching your life from a distance. He is a righteous judge. He is the one who sees in secret and rewards in the open. And now, his gavel is being raised, not in wrath, but in restoration. His verdict is about to thunder over your situation, and what once looked like defeat is about to be flipped into undeniable favor. The enemy didn't just attack your peace. He tried to tamper with your timeline. He used people to wound you in private. He used systems to delay your progress. He sent spiritual interference into your home. He even tried to corrupt your perception, to make you question the very God who marked you. But heaven saw it all. And heaven does not forget. Some thought they could curse you and walk away untouched. Some betrayed you, thinking you had no one covering your name. Some sowed seeds of confusion, hoping to watch you collapse from afar. But what they didn't know is that your house was marked by heaven, not just for elevation, but for vindication. And now, God is flipping the script. Those who whispered against you will witness your rise. Those who plotted in secret will watch you be promoted in public. Those who sowed slander will reap the silence of heaven as your favor drowns out every false accusation. This is not revenge. This is not petty payback. This is justice. Because God does not bless injustice. He does not overlook affliction. And he does not leave his marked ones without reward. When heaven marks you, it also monitors you. And that monitoring leads to movement. Movement that looks like doors opening with no explanation. Movement that feels like burdens lifting in a moment. Movement that brings restoration in places you forgot were broken. This is the hour where wrong is being made right. This is the season where tears are turning into triumph. This is the divine reversal that flips affliction into anointing. You've walked through the fire. You've endured the mockery. You've questioned your worth. But heaven never lost sight of your name. And the archangel who watched your house get marked is now moving on assignment. Not only to shield you, but to shift the atmosphere around those who thought you'd never recover. You are not just bouncing back. You are being repositioned. You are not just being restored. You are being rewarded. The seeds you sowed in pain are now becoming harvests of glory. The prayers you whispered in exhaustion are returning as echoes of promise fulfilled. And what the enemy tried to label as loss, heaven has already renamed as testimony. So do not seek to prove yourself. Let heaven speak for you. Do not waste energy on explanations. Let the evidence be your answer. Because what's about to happen cannot be denied. And it cannot be reversed. The hand of God has moved. The scales have shifted. And now, divine reversal is setting your name in motion. Type "I receive divine justice" in the comments if this section affirms your silent battle. Blessing code 2020 is restoring balance in your life, even now. You are sealed, seen, and sent, and the mark was never a curse. Now hear this, and let it go deep into the marrow of your soul. September 9 was never meant to break you. It was not a curse. It was not punishment. It was a sacred moment of selection. A divine date set aside in the scrolls of eternity when heaven reached down and marked your house, not as condemned, but as commissioned. Not for destruction, but for destiny. You didn't miss it. You didn't mess it up. You didn't ruin the moment with fear or hesitation. Because God knew exactly how long it would take for you to understand what had been done in silence. And now, the understanding has come. Let every false belief be lifted. Let every lie be broken. Let every unworthy thought that told you this season was judgment be cast into the fire. For the Lord says, this mark was for preservation. This mark was for promotion. This mark was for the public unveiling of a private anointing. The weight you've carried was not punishment. It was the evidence of power being transferred. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where God needed you to be for this final sealing. Archangel Michael saw the moment. He stood with flaming sword drawn as the seal was placed. And now, his sword remains at your gate, guarding what has been activated. His presence is your assurance that what was started will be completed. You are covered from front to back, shielded in the spirit, surrounded in the natural. The energy that tried to settle in your house has been expelled. The residue of confusion has been burned off. The assignment of darkness has been reversed. Your name is written in the records of heaven. Your house is now recognized in the corridors of light. And your atmosphere has shifted for good. Let your faith now rise to meet what has been spoken. This is your final instruction. Walk in full authority. Do not shrink back. Do not remain silent. Do not act as though you are still waiting for confirmation. This was your confirmation. This was the scroll that explained the storm. This was the trumpet you didn't know was sounding. This was the closing affirmation that you are sealed, seen, and sent. You have passed the test. You have received the truth. You have been consecrated in the Spirit. Now go forward. Lay hands on your children with boldness. Speak to your house with authority. Command the atmosphere with certainty. And wake up each day knowing you were not just marked. You were commissioned. You are not what the world called you. You are not what the enemy whispered. You are what heaven declared, anointed, protected, and unstoppable. The fire around your house is not judgment, it is glory. The winds you felt are not danger, they are promotion. And from this day forward, every corner of your home shall echo with divine presence. Peace will flood rooms where confusion once lived. Angels will linger in hallways where fear once crept. And every plan of the enemy that once circled your dwelling is now voided in the name of Jesus. You are sealed. You are seen. You are sent. Type "I am sealed and sent" in the comments if this blessing confirms your calling. Blessing code 9999 is now completing what heaven began.